Alright, we're back. This is the third video in the journey. I'm using these videos to keep myself accountable, document my learning, and see how my thinking evolves over time. Alright, today we're going to go over last week's goals, the sentiment for this past week, creating my own strategy, how that went, the new positions I'm in, strategy development, how that went, where I'm going to be getting data, and then goals for next week. Alright, last week's goals, we had create a strategy and tested a multi-charts, did that, placed 2 positions in the new account, did that, actually placed 4, and then create a strategy development framework, did that as well. The ongoing goal of 15 minutes a morning on Yahoo Finance, I have been keeping up with that. In addition to that, I have also been looking at Motley Fool now because that's very engaging, and it's kind of like what a good diet is. A good diet is one you can stick to. Motley Fool is just more interesting, so I'm more likely to actually read it every day. Alright, sentiment this week. So how I was feeling. Off rip, multi-charts is still intimidating. There is so much going on. Then Yahoo Finance, there's a lot of good stuff on there for free, a lot of great articles. There's just also a lot of not good stuff, and so sorting through it is definitely going to be a skill that I'm going to have to develop over time. I still need to figure out how to get the equity curve overlaid. I tried this week and couldn't figure it out. You'll see later what I did instead. 3 types of Monte Carlo simulations. This is something that I realized I definitely need to learn because I was looking at the native Monte Carlo simulation in multi-charts, just the base one that they give you, and it's sort of helpful, but I know there's a lot of different types, and the one they give you isn't that informative. Alright, I also realized I definitely need to learn power language. I also want to learn Python coinciding with that. I don't know if that will make it easier or harder, but most quantitative trading firms obviously use a more in-depth language like Python. But in the meantime, for multi-charts and competitors like TradeStation, they use power language or an equivalent. I think TradeStation's is easy language. Additionally, still really excited about this whole process. Very cool to be learning about how quantitative trading works, the different types of trading. It's very engaging still. Also, just short and simple, still seems like high time frame trading is just not the way to go unless you're a big firm that's paying for expensive software, data, and PhD machine learning experts. Lastly, it got cut off because I kind of added it last minute, but real estate seems cool, and the reason I put that on here is real estate is an investment. This is kind of just, this series is comprehensive of me learning about trading and investments. It's something cool, it's something I want to look into more. However, it's so wildly different than trading that I don't know yet whether it would be better for me to just focus in on one thing, on just trading, or focus a little bit on trading, a little bit on real estate, and anything else that interests me, because I'm very early in the process and I don't want to lock myself into any one route before I find out what really engages me and what I'm really going to be good at. So I do want to explore it, but I don't just want to hop from thing to thing and never get deep enough into anything to make enough progress. Alright, so this is in the multi-charts study editor where you can use the power language to create your own strategy. Again, I had AI write this code for me. As we can see, it is a trend and momentum type strategy. I'm not even entirely sure what that means. The difference between this strategy and the ones that are native to multi-charts is this strategy has both a buy and sell condition in one signal instead of having to use a buy signal and a sell signal. This seems much more straightforward. I'm not sure yet why you would ever have two. I think this strategy is really cool because it illustrates how powerful the power language model is. So many of these variables are already defined. Like these inputs up here: trend line, momentum length, stop loss points, trail price. It seems the study editor just knows what these are. They're never really defined. It says that, okay, stop loss is 20 points, set, stop loss, trail points, big point value. I don't ever see it define those. So I guess all of these are already in the documentation of the power language model. And I guess what's so great about it is it's so beginner friendly. You don't have to define every single one of these variables. They're already native to the language, which is definitely exciting to see and should make it easier for me in this upcoming week to write my own strategy. And then over here on the right, we can just see this is back in where you make trades in multi-charts, and I'm able to see the strategy that I created, named it V1 practice ES backtest signal, and then I can apply that onto the charts and run the analysis. So speaking of the analysis, here we have the time analysis. I ran this study over a much larger data set than I'd previously done. Previously, I just did like 2 days. Here, I did since the beginning of the year, so 4 months and 21 days, and it was in the market much less than the last one, but it's cool to see it's much more data. Obviously, it's ran over a much longer time, so it should give much more accurate results. I did not download any data to do this. I'm not sure how far back I can go within multi-charts, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it is decades, just not with a ton of depth of data, and that's maybe why people download data. Alright, so here we can see what I was talking about earlier, the S&P 500 buy and hold versus the strategy. And now I'm able to just put these two charts side by side, the buy and hold and then the strategy. But I really would like to overlay them on top of each other so that the y-axis is correctly scaled. Because here we can see it went up, that's 4,000, I guess we'll say about 4,000. Here we see it went down about 35,000 in the negative. But these look like the same change in y-axis because they're both fit to fill the whole chart. So I would love to figure out how to overlay them on top of each other, and I'm really sure why it's so hard to do. You know, I was looking it up on so many different sources, and AI gave me a process that was like 17 steps and didn't make any sense. I feel like it should just be 1 or 2 buttons, so I really don't know what I'm missing. Alright, then here we have the analysis, the models of the strategy. This one, distribution analysis, I don't even know what this one means, what this curve, it doesn't mean anything to me yet. So that's a note to myself. I need to learn how to read these, because right now they don't really give me any valuable information. This Monte Carlo simulation, this is why I need to understand the different types, because I was looking at this and I was realizing, okay, well, this is the equity, so it goes up 20,000 and comes down. They all start and end at the exact same point. That doesn't really make sense to me. In theory, if you were to run a strategy in real life 1,000 different times, you would get 1,000 different results if it was in 1,000 different realities. Slightly different, maybe drastically different, but you would get different results. So I'm not sure what this type of Monte Carlo simulation is, where the only variation is in the middle and the start and the end point are the same. That doesn't really make sense to me. All right, these are the 4 new positions I'm in. Obviously, cash is not a position, but Snapchat, Rivian, ASML, and Planet Labs. So these 2 were recommendations from someone I know in real life, and then these 2 were recommendations from online. I don't even know what you would call them. Financial news sources. Oh, these companies have a lot of potential. I did very little to no research behind these, but I also put very little money behind these. Again, this is all just about getting started, getting some skin in the game, getting the ball rolling. If I were to put significant money in, I would do a significant amount of research. That is not yet what this is about. Here we have the strategy development framework. How am I going to get from where I am now, starting at 0, to developing a profitable strategy? Step 1 is learn the concepts, because I can do research, but if I don't even understand what the research is talking about, that's not going to get me anywhere. So the plan there is learn 2 concepts a week and then explain them on YouTube, just like I am now. So, okay, here are the 3 types of Monte Carlo analyses that I learned about. This one's that, this one's that, this one's that. And I think explaining them out will give me a thorough understanding of them, and limiting it to 2 a week hopefully ensures that I'm going into depth on all of these concepts. And then the little things will just kind of fill in along the way, hopefully. All right, step 2 is learning to code in Power Language and in Python. So I want to learn Power Language because that's what multi-charts use, and that is what's easy, so I will be able to get started much earlier. And then I want to learn Python because that is likely what I will need down the line, and it is just generally more applicable to more things. Luckily, with Python, I have a tiny bit of experience from AP Computer Science in high school. There is a ton of good resources that I have through that class to learn Python that I honestly haven't been using at all, but I now will start to use and take advantage of before they get taken away from me because I'm no longer a student in that class. All right, so once I have the ability to create a trading strategy by understanding what I'm learning and being able to write code, then I need ideas. Get that through SSRN. This is a large worldwide database of research papers. The pro here with SSRN is that there is a ton of information. But the con is that the good information is paid for. There is free resources, but a lot of the best resources are going to be behind a paywall. So I'll have to get into there and figure out to what extent that is. Next, if I find that multi-charts does not have enough or in-depth enough data, use Yahoo Finance API or another source of a free large amount of in-depth data to backtest on. So those 4 components will give me everything I need to create and test a strategy. Then I have to actually do the creating and testing. And so step 1 is coding and testing in multi-charts. Great platform to do so. Somewhat beginner friendly, somewhat intuitive, but also in-depth and technical enough to be accurate and reliable. Then use a lot of different models to predict the probability of success. Again, the 3 Monte Carlo simulations that I've heard about, there may be more. I know there are a lot of other models to predict probabilities of success. I'm going to have to learn how to read those, learn how to apply them, and learn the significance of each different one. And then lastly, execute. This is far down the line for now, or it seems far down the line for now, but this will start with paper trading, with executing the strategy live on the real market in real time, but with fake money. And then after that, move on to real money. So that is very far down the line, but this is, at least for now, what I think the process would look like. This is SSRN, like I mentioned before, the large worldwide database for research papers where I can get ideas to create trading strategies off of. This is the Yahoo Finance API, where you can access it, where I can get the large amounts of in-depth data to backtest on. This is the Charles Schwab API, and I have seen it recommended as an alternative to Yahoo Finance if Yahoo Finance is not giving enough or in-depth enough information. All right, how am I moving forward? So, like I mentioned in the strategy development framework, I want to learn 2 concepts a week in depth and then explain them to solidify that learning. So the first 2 concepts I want to learn are market regimes and Sharpe ratio. Market regimes necessary because you may have different strategies you apply in different market regimes. Trying to do a one-size-fits-all is near impossible. And then Sharpe ratio is an indicator of how good a strategy is. That is all I know. What does it indicate? Beats me. That's why I'm learning about it. Next, this one is going to be really hard. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to 30 minutes every day, but the goal is 30 minutes a day learning either Power Language or Python. Ideally, a mix of both. And lastly, another variation of creating a strategy and testing it in multi-charts. I did this last week, except I had AI write the code. This week, I want to do it where I write the code myself. And this could be a super simple strategy, just like one of the example ones, where it is literally every single candle you buy and every single candle you sell. I just want to write a strategy, test it, and apply it. And then, like normal, ongoing, 15 minutes a day on Yahoo Finance, but I'm going to add Motley Fool because it's interesting to me and I like reading it. Alright, so that's it for this week's update. And just to reiterate, this is purely a journal of my progress learning how to trade. It's not educational and it's not advice.